Hello YouTube Pipers, it's Double O Pipe here, going back to my brand new pipe. I'm going back to Carter Hall. So there. Maybe it's lit this time. Get some air through here. Well, I didn't do anything on the 4th. I'm sure everybody else had a good 4th. Too hot and muggy for me. Last time we had a cookout, it was the most miserable, hot, muggy day I've ever lived through. And we had a cookout. We had several people over, and it was just awful. So don't think we've had one since. I put a 9mm filter in here. I picked up a box of those. And I must have had some tobacco on the other end of it from the last time, because whenever I pulled through it, a piece of tobacco came and hit me in the tongue. I guess I should do more on the 4th, since I got my naturalization papers back in 68. And a new citizen should make more of the 4th, I guess, but I grew up here, so. So I feel more American than I do English these days. I guess if I were English, it would be Happy Trader's Day for me, but I don't know whether to cut this beard off or not. I've let it grow because I was concerned about her seeing me without this beard, and it might knock her confidence for a loop. At one time I did shave it off. My mother looked at me and said, maybe you should grow that back. So I must not be the best looking guy without a beard. Trying to think about something to talk about. I considered, since I talked about going to college and almost flunking out one time past, that the first time I ever flunked was in college. First time I ever flunked a course. And that course was calculus, because I just could not wrap my head around that. I don't know why, but I couldn't. Throughout school, I never had a problem with math. And I don't know, just never had a problem. Never had to study that much. And that's probably why I flunked in college, is because I didn't study that much. Because I was so not gifted with math, but it just came easy to me. Any of the math courses took in high school, grammar school, they were just easy. one of my friends says that if it hadn't have been for me, he wouldn't have been able to pass senior math, because for him it didn't come easy, he said. But senior math was the last and supposedly the hardest course in math that we took to graduate from high school. I think it was the last class of the day, but I'm not sure. I can't remember now. But for me, like I said, it was easy. For my buddy, it wasn't so easy. Well, first test we had, like usual, I finished up pretty early and just turned my paper over and put my pencil down. I was just looking around the room when I heard next to me, psst, psst. And I looked over to see what he was doing that for, and he said, what's the answer to number 4? And I looked at it and I mouthed back at him what the answer was. And he said, okay, thank you. And he went back to his paper. A few minutes later, I hear psst, psst. I look over again, and he says, number 6 or 7. So I looked at it, and I mouthed the answer to him, and he said, shook his head and said, thank you. Now I looked up at the front to see what the teacher was doing, because we were back there and we were making noise. That psst, psst was enough, I would have thought, excuse me, to cause her to look back. She didn't. She had her nose in a book or something, and she wasn't paying us any attention, for which I was grateful, because I didn't want to get caught cheating. Neither did he. So when the time was up, we all gathered our papers up and handed them to her as we walked out the door. And as we were walking out, he said, I just don't understand that. Rick, can you help me maybe? And I said, well, I can try. I said, it just comes easy to me. I don't really know if I could teach it or not. He said, I'd appreciate it if you'd give it a try and we could study together. I said, sure. So a few nights we studied together that math, and I tried to explain to him what I did, but I wasn't very good at it. And I don't think that he caught on too well because of my teaching, not because of anything else. But after about 2 weeks, we had another test. Same thing, she handed out the papers, and we went to working at our test, and she was doing whatever it was she had been doing before, reading a book or maybe working on some grades for some other people, another class maybe. And after about 30 minutes, I'd turn my paper over because I'd finished, put my pencil down. This time I put my head down because I was kind of tired. And all of a sudden I hear psst, psst. And I look over there, say, what? And he goes, number 2. So I told him what number 2 was. And I put it back down and went back to putting my head down. And after about 5 minutes, I hear another psst, psst. I look over, and he says, so I told him the answer, number 4. This was my best friend, the one I'd grown up with all through grammar school and all through high school. And it was almost time for the bell to go off because I was looking at my watch. And I hear psst, psst, and he goes, number 10. So I tell him what number 10 is. Right after that, the bell rang. We turned our papers in, and as we were walking out, he said, I just don't get it. Rick, I just don't understand. Can we try again, study him some more? And I said, sure, I'll try, but I don't know that I'm really helping you. He said, I don't know. It might help. I might catch on. So we did that a few more times. Me, I felt like, gosh, I'm not helping this guy at all, and because I knew how to do it, but I didn't know how to teach it, which is two separate things in my book. Another 2 weeks went by, and we had another test. Same thing. I finished early, put it down, psst, 3 or 4 times, and I gave him the answer to each of them. As we were walking out, this time he said, next time you ought to just hand me your quiz. And I looked at him funny and I said, okay. So next time we had a quiz, I finished early and I sort of eased my paper over to the side of the desk so that it was wide open so that he could see what it was, just held on to the tip like that and kind of looked around to make sure the teacher wasn't looking. Well, he couldn't see it, so he just reached over and grabbed it, put it on his desk. I was looking at the teacher to make sure she wasn't looking. She wasn't looking. So he started to hand it back to me, and the person in front of him saw what was happening and grabbed it out of his hand and took it up to where she was and copied it. And then it made a circle around and came back to me. And I put it on my desk. I was going, whoa, we could have all been in trouble with that. And the bell rang and we turned in our papers. Well, we tried studying again. I did what I could. He felt like maybe he was beginning to understand. Maybe the repetition was beginning to help. I don't know. I didn't think I was helping, but he seemed to think I was. So, we kind of got the word that somebody in class had seen that, and that person had talked to the teacher. And the teacher, the next test we had, she handed out the papers, came over and stood between my buddy and I. She was right there. I looked up at her and she looked down at me and she kept staring at me. And she said, okay, begin. And we started doing the test. Well, I didn't hear a psst, psst this time because she stood there the entire hour. Somebody on the other side of the room said, teacher, can I ask you a question? And she looked over at him and looked down at me and said, I can't come over and help you because I have to stand at my post. I got to stand at my post. I still get a kick out of that. Well, this time it didn't help my buddy because I couldn't. She was standing right here. There was no way I could mouth what it was. There was no way he could go, psst, what's the answer? So I just turned my paper over after I finished and lay my head down. And he just went through the test, did it all. Before, she had been really happy to see his grades improve because she felt like he had been having some problems. He must be understanding what she was teaching. She had had no idea what was going over in that corner until somebody had informed on us. And then she came over. It was the last test of the year. And she stood her post the entire hour. We turned in our papers, and he made a darn good grade on this one. So something had clicked finally with him so that he understood it. And it was a good thing because she thought maybe whoever had informed or given her that information was just making up a story. Well, we all passed. We got through senior year with not all of us with flying colors, but we got through senior year. And we graduated. And every time my buddy sees me and he sees, oh, he's with other people, he always says, if it hadn't been for this guy, I'd have never graduated and never been able to get into the college I wanted to be at. Never fails. Always says that. And I'm sitting there going, I don't think that's true. I just don't think that's true. I think he applied himself enough that he was beginning to understand it. So it wasn't me. It was him. He just studied a little harder. But I'll never forget our senior math teacher standing between the two of us, not moving the entire hour because she had to stand her post. She wanted to catch us in the act if it was true. Well, the next year I went to college, and right there, the first class in math I had was calculus. Flunked it flat. Didn't understand it at all. I had to take it over because you had to have this particular class because I was majoring in chemistry, and I had to have this class in order to go even further. And the next semester that I took it because I had flunked it, I did okay. I don't know. I think I just memorized a lot of stuff, but the same professor taught me, and he said, well, Mr. Croucher, it appears you must be studying this semester. I said, I studied last semester. I just didn't get it. And I didn't know anybody to cheat, and I wouldn't have cheated if I had known because I just didn't do that. I didn't mind helping somebody else if they needed help, but I wasn't going to ask answers for me. And that's not being better than anybody else. It's just, I felt like if I couldn't make it on my own, I couldn't make it. And I felt like if I could help somebody, I would help them. So that's me in senior math. And my buddy who went on to do great things. And he swears it's because I helped him in math. It's nice to think that, but he did it all on his own. All right, folks. Y'all take care of yourselves. Hope everybody's doing all right. We've been having some thunder out there. I think maybe we got some rain in the forecast coming soon. I know it's hotter than Hades and muggy as it can be. But that's what we get when we live here. That's what we get when we live here. Everybody take care. God bless you. Till the next time.